So I just saw Foe, the newest film from director Garth Davis. The same guy that made the movie Lion. It's based on a novel by a guy named Lane Reed, and it stars Saoirse Ronan and Paul Mescal. It's the first film that I've seen at the 2023 New York Film Festival, and man, I kind of have a lot to say about this one. First off, I just want to show you something. I want to show you the Rotten Tomatoes score for this movie, because here it is. And I usually tend to agree with the critic score at Rotten Tomatoes. But I don't know, man. Maybe I'm missing something, but I absolutely loved this movie. So let's jump right into it. So Foe is another movie that kind of covers this weird AI merging with humanity type thing. It's a movie that's set in a near future where humanity has kind of destroyed the Earth due to climate change and other things, and they're now moving a large portion of humanity into space, to live in space. And the story takes us to this small little farmhouse where Saoirse Ronan and Paul Mescal are husband and wife, and they're living in this farmhouse. And a guy named Terrence, played by Aaron Pierce, shows up at their doorstep and says, hey, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna send you, Paul Mescal, we're gonna send you to space, and we're going to replace you in your house with an AI robot so your wife doesn't get lonely. Sort of a similar plot to the episode of Black Mirror that came out earlier this year with Aaron Paul, but I actually think this was done a lot better. But either way, that's the basic plot of the movie, and we kind of just dive into the psychological ramifications of that story, and we set the story really outside of the sci-fi elements of it all. This movie isn't really a very large sci-fi, a big budget movie. It's really a romance thriller, like a love story that's mixed with with a lot of thriller elements. At the center of it, it's really about these two characters played by Paul Mescal and Saoirse Ronan, and trying to figure out their relationship, trying to figure out their past, what's wrong with their relationship, this corrosion that we've seen, this idea of trying to recapture something great we once had in the past, with Paul Mescal's character almost being a hoarder, not wanting to let go of things in the past, wanting to keep the past clean and perfect, and Saoirse Ronan wanting change, but also not really loving the version of her husband that he's come, and wanting the original version that she had fell in love with. So it's kind of this weird mix and this weird conflict of interests and ideas between these two, and then you mix the sci-fi elements in, and I just thought it was really, really great. Now, this movie's not perfect. There are some cons, and I'm going to get right into that. I definitely think the script here isn't perfect. The movie is not perfectly paced. I think it's maybe a little bit too long, and there are a lot of, I don't really know how to describe it. There's a lot of stuff in this movie that I think could have been taken out. Let me just put it that way. There's a lot of cut stuff. There's like 15 sex scenes in this movie, and listen, we all love a great sex scene, but 15, I mean, come on. I also think at times this movie is kind of conflicted with itself, at least the script is, where I'm not really sure that the movie wanted to deliver this big mysterious twist and hide it from the audience, or if they never really wanted it to be a twist and they wanted the audience to kind of understand what was going on the entire time. Because there is a quote-unquote twist, a turn near the third act of this movie, but it didn't really work for me because I saw it coming from within the first 20 minutes of the movie, because there are shots that distinctively indicate that twist is already in play, and I'm not sure, I feel like it wasn't subtle enough for it to be, for it to not be intentional for the audience to know. Therefore, the twist doesn't work as well. At least the practical twist. There's a real emotional twist here, a real emotional twist within the romance that I thought was so impactful, and it really hit me. I thought that was done really, really well. So if that was the goal, for that to be the main twist, great job. There's also another twist, another really interesting turn that they do in the last minutes of these movies, and one thing I didn't like about it is it just goes on way too long. Like, just imagine the ending of Inception with that, the top turning. Just imagine the camera didn't cut the black, and we see it stop, but then we see another indication that, it might be a dream, and then the camera keeps going and going and going.
Now you could end the scene there, but if you leave the camera rolling,
the camera just never stops rolling, and it keeps going, and it takes away all the ambiguity that I kind of wanted out of the ending. I thought there was a real opportunity to have a really ambiguous and really amazing ending here, and the camera just keeps rolling for way too long, and it removes all ambiguity. It's still a decent ending. Emotionally, it still hits on all the themes and all the core ideas that Garth Davis was going for, but I feel like it could have been ended maybe 2 shots sooner. Actually, yeah, 2 shots sooner, and I won't spoil it, but 2 shots sooner, it would have been perfect. I want to talk about some more pros here, though. Paul Mescal, Saoirse Ronan, my god, they are brilliant. Paul Mescal gives, in my opinion, the best performance of his career. I think he is amazing here, and I think a lot of the writing here is a little over the top. There's a lot of scenes of him just screaming and going crazy, which at times doesn't work a lot for me, but he's so good at bringing this weird edge to this character where you're trying to, you feel like you can't really understand this character until later in the third act, and you're trying to figure out who exactly he is, and I'm trying to say this in the least spoilery way possible, but you're trying to figure out what he's done in the past, how he actually has treated Saoirse Ronan's character in the past, because they throw you in like the middle of this relationship. You don't see the start. You don't see everything they've done behind closed doors. You really only see what Garth Davis allows you to see, and you really see the fantasy side of this relationship, especially early in the movie. You don't get to see it. You only see some of the negatives bleeding through, almost like light creaking through the bottom of a door. You only see some of the negatives, and really it's up to the actors to perform and give you the basis and background of these characters and their relationship, and I think it's done really well, and Paul Mescal is so good, even if some of the stuff is over the top. And Saoirse Ronan is just amazing. This maybe is the most mature performance I've ever seen from her, and I know she was very mature in Little Woman, but that was still really much a coming-of-age story. This movie, she is so great and so strong and so mature, and I absolutely loved her character. And shout out to Aaron Pierre, he is also really good in his role. He doesn't play as big of a part, he's not in too much of the movie, but for what he needed to do in this movie, he served it really well. I also think this movie is beautifully shot. I think it looks really, really good. It's a small movie, definitely a smaller budget, and I just think it looks absolutely beautiful. I love the color palette, I love the cinematography, I thought it was a great shot film. I also thought the score was amazing, and I haven't heard anybody talking about the score in any of the negative and the few positive reviews that I've read, but the score here is really, really good and added so much to the tone and the overall tension that is built throughout this film. Overall, though, I really, really liked Foe. I thought it was a really unique film. I thought it was a little bit of a slow burn, but a really well-made slow burn. I thought it had so many great performances here. I thought Paul Mescal and Saoirse Ronan were just spectacular. I think it had a fascinating study on the corrosion of relationships and the corrosion of our past lives. Not like Past Lives. Very different movie from Past Lives. But overall, I really liked it, and I will definitely recommend this to everybody, and I will give it a 4 out of 5. I don't know when this is coming out. I think it's getting a limited release, like within the next week or two, and probably going to be on Amazon at some point, but I definitely recommend you all go watch Foe as soon as you have a chance. So that's the video. Make sure to like this video and subscribe for more. I'm going to have so much New York Film Festival content coming over the next week, so make sure to turn on notifications to see all of that as I post it. And I will see you all in the next one.